Elite Facts presents
7 interesting facts about the Shaolin.
7.
Shaolin did not invent Kung Fu. Although believed to have been invented by Shaolin monks, it was in fact only adopted by the Shaolin. In China, it is said that all martial arts under heaven arose out of Shaolin, but this isn't the historical truth. For several centuries after Shaolin was founded, there was no institutionalized combat training. The monks did participate in the battles that helped create the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 AD, but even then there was no evidence that they had developed their very own unique form of fighting. It is believed that the monks during the Tang Dynasty simply used common weaponry associated with the Shaolin and were no more skilled in martial arts than any other soldiers. Shaolin expertise in hand-to-hand combat can only be dated to the 16th century. The history of Kung Fu, however, can be traced back to long before the Shaolin monastery was even established. The Spring and Autumn Annals, which were said to be composed between 800 and 500 BC, referenced hard and soft martial arts techniques, a division that remains a core Kung Fu philosophy today. By the time of the Ming Dynasty, which was between 1368 and 1644 AD, when Shaolin first became associated with martial arts excellence, Kung Fu was already commonly practiced throughout the whole of China.
6.
The Shaolin Werewolf. Next time someone tells you werewolves don't exist, tell them they're a bunch of liars, and that werewolves can do Kung Fu. According to legend, during the second half of the 19th century, there was a man by the name of Tai Jin, who was appropriately nicknamed Shaolin Werewolf. Although a cool nickname, Jin suffered from hypertrichosis and was known to the whole neighborhood because of his hairy body. But that's not the only thing that gave him fame. He was also well known for being the best fighter in all of China. Born to a family that considered him to be a demon who would bring misfortune on the family, the boy was wrapped in swaddling clothes and left to die in the nearby forest. Luckily for him, while passing by, the Shaolin monks heard his cries and took pity on him, taking him with them to the Shaolin Temple, located within the Fujian province. The monks tried to find a family willing to adopt Tai Jin, but no one wanted to take a child covered with so much hair, so the boy was left to grow up among the monks. In the temple, the boy studied martial arts, and unlike others who devoted their entire lives to only one type of martial arts, he decided to learn them all. It was said that the boy spent over 200 receptions empty-handed and could be used in combat over hundreds of weapons. Moreover, he learned the infamous reception Dim Mak called Deadly Touch. Also, we can't forget to mention how his senses were seemingly inhuman, as many people believed that Tai Jin possessed superhuman senses. A widely known story tells the following tale. When Jin went to the meeting with 12 masters of Shaolin, instead of a greeting, the boy threw a knife up into the ceiling. To the surprise and shock of everyone present, from the top down, it was found that a killer was hiding on the roof, and he now had a dagger sticking out of his chest. Unfortunately, there is no official evidence that Tai Jin was associated with Shaolin or that he even existed. In any case, the legend continues to inspire martial artists to this day. And if someone in Hollywood could transition this story to the silver screen, that would be great.
5.
Shaolin versus Japanese pirates. Okay, now this sounds like one of those low-budget direct-to-VHS B movies you'd find at the bottom of a bargain bin at your local abandoned Blockbuster Video. But this was something that actually happened back in the 16th century. With the development of their combat skills, Shaolin monks often took part in the battles for China. One of the most significant threats to the stability of the economy emerged from the sea in the form of fierce Wokou dwarf pirates from Japan. During the early 16th century, the coastal cities of China were constantly subjected to looting by these pirates. They made trade very difficult, and the people fled from the coast in packs. The straw that broke the camel's back, however, was a Wokou attack in 1553 at the port city of Hangzhou. Hundreds were killed, thousands were left homeless, and many buildings were destroyed, and the whole city was plundered to the skin. In response to this, however, a royal order of 120 elite warrior monks were sent to destroy the threat represented by the pirates. Presiding over this campaign were Shaolin generals named Tian Zhu and Tian Qi. The pirates thought they would destroy the monks, but it proved to not be as easy as they thought it would be. In 3 of the 4 battles, the monks could not do anything. It was only during the last battle that the monks managed to win and beat the enemy. During this campaign, the monks showcased their brutal skills as they killed every single pirate who got in their way.
4.
The Shaolin helped found an imperial dynasty. The Shaolin's preeminence among Chinese monasteries began to take shape towards the end of the Sui dynasty from 581 to 618 AD. The Sui had successfully united the whole of China. However, they were quickly toppled by a series of popular revolts and the subsequent assassination of the emperor. During the aftermath of their fall, several noble houses began to vie for control of the then deteriorating empire. One claimant to the throne was a former Sui general by the name of Wang Shichang, who quickly occupied the territory of Zheng. To strengthen his hold over the ancient capital of Luoyang, Wang Shichang built a signal tower as well as a military encampment at Mount Huanyan on a piece of land that had been granted to Shaolin by Emperor Wen of Sui. Unfortunately for the Shaolin, however, the emperor grew paranoid as he felt that the monks would rebel against him, and as a result, he sent an army to lay siege to Shaolin itself. To counter Wang Shichang, the monks pledged allegiance to his rival, Li Yuan, who would eventually become the founder of the Tang dynasty. In response to this, Li Yuan sent his son, Prince Li Shimin, to aid the monks and attack Luoyang. With the monks' assistance, they were able to remove Wang Shichang's army, leaving Luoyang defenseless and forcing Wang to surrender. With Wang's reign of power coming to an abrupt end, the Tang were able to consolidate their hold over China, which they would rule until 907 AD. Shaolin's role in winning the war ensured that they would be held in high esteem by the dynasty.
3.
The Shaolin was founded by an Indian. Due to its origin, a common misconception is that the Shaolin monastery was founded by a Chinese citizen. This is, in fact, false. The Shaolin monastery is such an integral part of Chinese culture that it comes as a massive surprise to many when they find out that the actual founder of the monastery was an itinerant Buddhist monk from India named Batu, or Buddhahadra. He appeared in Imer Northern Wei in 464 AD and preached there for several decades, before the Emperor Chao Wen ordered him to build the Shaolin Monastery on Mount Song, now Henan Province. Elder became the first abbot. Unfortunately, there is little historical evidence from that time, but from what historians have been able to gather, they believe that the monastery at the time was the center for the translation of Buddhist texts into Chinese. Being led by Batu, the Buddhist monks followed the charter school Hinayana. However, due to the fact that even the monks found it quite difficult to follow this path, the monastery long remained relatively small. Only with the arrival of Bodhidharma, another Buddhist monk monastery, did they refuse the Hinayana path and replace it with Zen Buddhism, which Shaolin monks follow to this day.
2.
It is not the only order of monks. Many people mistakenly believe that the order of Shaolin warrior monks is the only order of monks in existence. Hell, it isn't even the first monastery where monks were trained in martial arts. Over a century before the Shaolin monastery was founded, many Chinese monasteries already practiced martial arts and had their stocks of weapons. Shaolin was built as a civilian training center. According to legend, only with the arrival of Bodhidharma in the 5th to 6th centuries AD did Shaolin monks begin practicing martial arts. The first piece of legitimate evidence indicating the practice of martial arts in Shaolin dates way back to the 14th century. In fact, the world had no shortage of religious orders who practiced martial arts training. In India, for example, the Negasudas was one of the most well-armed and militant sects in the country. Shiva devotee warriors known as Sada are familiar to modern tourists as Hindu saints in loincloths with matted hair. But in the Mughal era, they were among some of the most dangerous fighters in all of Asia. Another order of monks who also studied martial arts are the Korean Buddhist monks of the monastery Bulkyo Musul. They were even called upon on occasion to defend their country in times of emergency. In Japan, the warrior monks Shohei once controlled large territories, believing in the way of salvation through the Holy War. Even in Tibet, there were several fraternities of warrior monks led by the Dalai Lama.
1.
Jaiba. So anyone who is a fan of those good old classic kung fu movies may notice that any character who's a Shaolin monk has those 9 round dots on their forehead. Those markings are known as jaiba. They are rite labels that are put on a monk to signify that they have finished their studies. This label is of great importance in the world of Shaolin. Each point represents one of the fundamental rules of conduct that is to be followed by every monk. However, this label has unfortunately been banned in recent years. The process of labeling involves a whole ceremony that includes an entire month of intense meditation and physical training. Towards the end of this ceremony, the head monk attaches 9 sticks of incense, which are then set on fire and remain lit until they burn the skin around them. Now, although this ceremony is currently banned in China, the ban was temporarily lifted by the Chinese government back in 2007, allowing the monks to revive this ancient tradition. Only 100 monks were recognized as being physically and mentally prepared to undertake this process, and only 43 of them managed to get through it.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.